Hi, this is Rolf from Running Wild.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm fine, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this interview. It is a tremendous honor on my behalf to be able to talk to you about the brand new album, which is going to be coming out soon.
Yeah, thanks, no problem.
So what went into the writing process for this album?
Well, it took a long time to collect all the ideas I used and then all the ideas I didn't use, because I had about 30 to 35 song ideas. So they're collected in these 3 years from the last album, Resilient, on. But I really could not work all the time on the album because 2014 I broke my shoulder. So it was really about half a year which I couldn't work at all. And then in a very, very small kind of way, 20 minutes, and it hurt in the shoulder. And but I really could think about the album a lot and, going through the ideas and pick up the ideas for that. I really had to reach a situation that I really could pick up 10 basic song ideas, and 11 at the same game. Very, very short period of time. I just had the idea to do it, kind of instrumental on the album. And all these 10 songs came from a very, very great pool of ideas. So I really could pick out 10 totally different songs which added anything different to the album, which the other didn't. So it was a really great situation for me to have time to work on that and work on all the bits and pieces, because the record company gave me the time to do that. Because I figured out very, very early that a song needed a kind of different arrangement than the two albums before that, because the songs were different and they needed pretty much more work in the bits and pieces and the small things of the songs. And so I really could take the time to do that, and so it was a really great situation. Also, when I did the final mix for the album and the production, I really could take the time I needed to that. So it was way better than these albums before, because the last album we had about 4 or 5 days was in the final mix, and this time I had 4 or 5 days for the mix of one song. So it was totally different.
Well, I'm glad to see all the work that did go into the new album, because I absolutely love what you guys are going for this time around.
Yeah, I thought this album was a very special one, because, when I was in the working process, a friend of mine came in my house and just heard some of the songs, and he said, "Wow, I think you're working on your Back in Black album." And I said, "Okay, wow, that could be great if this comes out of it, great, So, and I really think this is a really great album. I'm very proud of that, and I really couldn't pick any song as my favorite track on the album, because all the songs were so great. And same thing with all the guys from who did all the interviews. So every song of 11 has been mentioned as the favorite track. So everybody has his own favorite track on the album. So the first time, normally, you just 2 songs which everybody belongs to. The last album was Soldiers of Fortune and then Bloody Island. So, but this time it's totally different.
I'm glad to hear that too, because the more that I listen to the album, the more I do kind of find myself finding like every song has at least a particular moment that I really enjoy and can make that stand out as my favorite part of the album.
Yeah, that's what what a lot of people when they heard the full record when it was done, they said the same thing. They said, "Okay, this is I'm pretty much listened to it a few times, and it's getting better and better and better, the album." And I've covered so many things that I didn't heard for the first time. Even if a song, for sure, in a song like Lost of the Mohican, which is a very epic one, and I put a lot of work into that, and we can't play this song live. This is not possible. There's so much different lines and different thoughts on that.
Yeah, but imagine there would have to be either you would have to get everyone to play their own parts in that song and hire out musicians to do that, or you'd have to play it to a backing track, which is not always fun to do.
Yeah, because it would leave off so many of what the song is all about, what the song means, that it wouldn't be working. That's why I figured this out very early when I was writing on the song, that it's not possible to play it live. So I really could play around with things I never would do, because I knew, okay, you can't play it live, not possible. And for this time I said, okay, this is the way I know we can't play the song live, so I can do everything that has something to do with the song. I could add anything on that brings something to the song.
And even though it can't be played live, it is a particular favorite of mine, just because I love the songwriting that went into it. All the layers of the song just make it for this grand epic feel to it.
Yeah, this was what I intended, because it's a very complex story. You really can't tell the whole story in the lyric. You just have some verses which you can put the story into, but that's not enough to tell such a complex story, and that's why I tried to tell it also musically. And so there was a lot of work going on that, arrangement and what comes after the other, where you are, at what stage you are with the lyrics at that time, what has to come next, musically.
Would you say that was the hardest song for you to write on the album?
Yes, it was a lot of work, and I put a lot of work into it. Even if I first had the idea to write the song "Lost for the Mohicans" when we did the Victory album, so it's 17 years ago, so it took a lot of time just to come up with the song. But it was always appearing again. Also on the last two albums, it was appearing again. You know, on Shadowmaker, I had the idea to do Dracula. On the other hand, I had Lost for the Mohicans, and the same with Resilient, you know, because I had Body Island and I had Lost for the Mohicans. But it was not time. The time was not right to do that. And when I was writing for this album, I figured out very early if the time was now to do the song, because I had so much great ideas for that. And I had the feeling and the mood to do the song. Even we have a look on this very emotional intro on the song, which will tell the story before the song tells it now, because it's the main part for me, the loss of Chingach Go. The main part of this complex story. He lost everything, not only his son, but lost future, tribe, everything, his culture, everything that made his life.
Yeah, and it is magnificent songwriting and storytelling within the album, and especially with Last Mohicans. Did you find that to be a challenge when you were writing the lyrics, to make it as hard-hitting as you did?
Times so really easy for me to write the lyrics. It was way harder for me back in the 80s or something like that to write songs, even if I was not as good as in English I should be at that time, you know, to write songs. You know, it was very hard. But today I've already got no problems. You know, if I got a story to tell, easy for me to find the real rhymes, tell the story, and to get all the content into the lyrics which I want to put in there. So it's not a little bit of work, but it's not that hard for me to write a song. Some of the lyrics have been written in a very, very short period of time. It was there. I just had the idea to write it down, and in Stick to Your Guns, it took about half an hour to write the lyrics for the song.
Oh wow! And it's amazing to be able to do that after all this time of being in a band and working as hard as you have too. Just being able to get it down to a science like that.
Yeah, that came across when put Running Wild down in 2009 officially. I put it down around after the last tour 2005. But for the public, I did it in 2009 with a show in Wacken. And because it was so hard for me to write songs again, and in the back days, it was really, really hard for me to write on the material and to get the right ideas, put it together to song. I was really work. And when I did the kind of production, the kind of fun production called Toxic Taste, that kind of project together, it was so easy for me to write songs because it was totally different. There was no record company expecting anything, or it was totally different music than I did before. And so it was really easy to write songs. And when I started out with writing Shadowmaker, it was so easy for me to write in the same way for Running Wild. And I never had this feeling, because there were so many ideas. I really had so much more ideas that I needed for the album that it was really a great feeling. And especially with this one, I had about 30 to 35 songs, basic ideas, which I could pick up from to make this record. So it's way easier for me today to write songs than it was 20 years ago. I know it's funny, but it's really the way it is. I can't tell you why. It's just something happened in between the time when I stopped doing Running Wild and when I was finding my way back to that.
Sometimes that does make sense. I mean, sometimes it just takes going through all those trials and tribulations of being in a band, dealing with a label, touring, all of those things that come with being a band, and then just going away for a little bit and then coming back into it. Sometimes it can just rejuvenate you and you can feel stronger about the material you write.
Yeah, so it was, to me, it was very necessary to say, I stopped doing Running Wild, not I take a break. I just said, I don't do this anymore. It's over. I was today, when I look back from today, I look back to that. It was very, very important to me to do that, to find my way back to that, because to take really a real break, so to say, okay, it's over. And so it really worked, and it was not planned by me, but it worked for Running Wild, and it worked for me as a songwriter. And so it's so easy for me to write songs today. I really can't believe that. Even I was working on the album. I honestly have to say, I know the title of the next record. I know the cover. I know most of the songs because I've got all this into my mind when I was working on Rapid Foray. It's very funny, but it's the way it is. So I was never as creatively in a work situation. I was never before that way. It was just coming up because of the break.
So right up before the time that you did stop Running Wild, looking back on those albums in the early 2000s, do you still like those albums, or is that a hard period for you to listen to?
No, I like all these albums, even if I didn't listen to it for a long time, because I'm not always listening to my own music. I find them way better than after I release the album, because I see something in there which is different or unique to the other album. And the fans feel the same way. There were a lot of critics say, okay, these albums are no good, especially Victory or Brotherhood. And today, these two albums are mentioned to be very, very classic. So I think time changes the view to an album. A lot of people said, okay, when Turbo Lava came out, they said it's not a real Priest album, it's bullshit, you can't listen to that. Today, everybody says great album. Not that typical Judas Priest album, but a great album. So I think time changes the view of it, and most of the time it's when people expect something from a band and coming up with some different stuff, they're disappointed, for sure. I was back in the days, when I was a fan of all these bands, I was too. But today I can understand more that a musician have to do certain things, just try it out, doing different things, not always doing the same thing.
Oh, very much so. I mean, some bands go in the direction of trying to get more mainstream success. Some musicians want to stay more to their artistic vision of what they're feeling at the time of writing and recording. But I just feel as long as you can stay happy with the music that you're creating, that is the best outlet that you can go for.
Absolutely, because like I always said, when the press didn't like Shadowmaker, I said, okay, or parts of the press didn't like Shadowmaker. I said, okay, don't like the album, but it doesn't mean that I've got not the right to do it. You know what I mean? So I became an artist because I love the word freedom and the meaning of that. And that's why I did it. And if you don't like it, don't buy it. It's just the way it is. And this is a bit of a problem in the heavy metal. If you have a look on that everything stays the same all the time. I don't think that I really could stay the same person or throughout a period of 32 years. It's not possible.
Oh yes, I mean there are plenty of bands out there who can keep the same formula going for every album, but for some people they want to be able to expand their creativity, whether it be in tempo or genre change or whatever the case is, and I think that is very healthy if you feel that need to aspire to be more creative to go for it.
Yeah, because I always tried out. I mean, even they said, okay, you can't do this. And if you go back to the classic albums, if you go back to Port Royal, I did a song called You a Shichu, which is not a real heavy metal track. It's a hard rock song. It's a very poppy hard rock song. But everybody liked the song, So back in the days it was okay, but today you can't change anything or just try out. I don't see that.
I've also noticed that a lot too, especially with through the late 70s up until the late 80s, it was good to experiment, but when the 90s started to come, that's when it felt like bands needed to just stick to one sound or else you were going to lose your fan base, which is something I don't agree with, but it seems like that became the majority.
Yeah, that's right, because I always say, when people say you can't try this, I always say, if I never had tried out things, I would never have done an album like Death or Glory. Compare Death or Glory to Gates of Purgatory, you have nothing to do. So if I never tried out new stuff, I never had written albums from the 90s, because they were different than the records from the 80s.
Yeah, and if you didn't take the path that you did, it may not have led to the 16th album, Rapid Foray.
Yeah, it all landed up there. There's also some people say, okay, a song like Warmongers has something to do with the past, with Gates of Purgatory, and they are right, because the riff of the song is, I've written the riff for a song called Running Blood back then in 79, 80, something like that. And I remembered the riff when I was writing on the song and I had the idea to write a song called Warmongers. And I remembered this kind of riff, and it really fitted to the feeling, to the aggressiveness of the lyrics, and to the song, so I really added this. For sure, it sounds like the 80s, because the song idea is from the 80s.
And it makes sense, too. I mean, it definitely has that great feel of it, but it has that 2015, 2016 feel to it as well with the modern production, but it is a great look back onto the early career of the band.
Yeah, I never tried out, and when I was writing songs, I never tried out to write songs like the classic album. If I would try it, there would nothing coming good of that, because you really have to write what you feel. This is the way it is, and there's some classic riffs in there, if you look on Stick to Your Guns, it's pretty much a traditional heavy metal riff, but it's also done in a way we would do it today, because we have 2016 now, and so this is what the band is all about. today. You know.
Yeah, and again, that's what I enjoy so much about Rapid Foray is it does kind of show the career span of Running Wild while entering new territory as well. I mean, whether it is more of the 80s feel with Warmongers or more of the pirate feel of By the Blood for Your Heart, In Your Heart, and then, of course, like the epic track of Last of the Mohicans. I mean, just being able to expand the creativity like that and still have those creative juices flowing for the next album as well. It's just fantastic to see that there is that much energy in the band after this long.
Yeah, so this is what some of the possibilities they have in the studio today are so way better than it was 20 years ago. So got so much more possibilities to do a great record concerning the production itself. So I tried out this for the first time on my studio. So I really took the time to do it because I really had to start out with a new studio when I was doing the production. You should not do that. There was no other way to do that because the other studio was too old then. And so I was really going to Pro Tools and everything, so which we did the last two records also on, but not in my studio. And so it was a really great working situation. Which situation where you could reach the highest level, which is doable today.
So do you find it easier to be able to record in your own studio?
Yeah, for sure. Because I also recorded the guitars and everything for the last time on my studio, and I'm doing the vocals and everything in my studio, except the drums. And but it was a rich situation because I really could take the time for all the stuff which is needed. You have. If you got the mood to play the guitar, you do it. If you don't, you just go down in my house and do anything else, just doing the laundry or whatever, doing what you have to do and coming back when you got the feeling back. But when you just hire a studio, you just have to work out on 8 hours or something like you have. It's the best thing you can do, So pretty much a better situation to work on your own too. Definitely.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that you already have many ideas and what you want to accomplish with the next Running Wild album. Is there any projection on when that could be released?
I don't know, because the next thing that comes, I'm pretty much now busy with the interviews, doing the promotion.
Sure.
And the next thing in the near future to make up my mind, which heavy metal festivals we do in the next. Because I got some offers hanging around here, which I can have a look on now. And I will meet some guys next week. We will talk about that, what they can do for me as a company concerning the live thing. And we will do some festival shows in the next. And when they have been done, then I can think about what will come up with the next album.
With the ideas for the next album, is it too early to tell what kind of style that it's going to be in?
I never can tell this before I the whole songs or most of the songs, because I never try to give a record a certain direction. It just going itself, and Resilient had a different way than Shadowmaker, but I didn't try to push it that way. It doesn't work. You really have to let it flow. And it was the same with Rapid Foray, and there will be the same with the next album. So I really can't tell you. The basic ideas are pretty much go in the same way like Rapid Foray is, but that didn't mean that there couldn't be any other ideas coming up which I didn't have in mind today. So I don't know. But it's very too early because the album's not out. It comes out at the end of the month, so on the 26th, and so it's too early to tell anything about a new album after that.
Oh, sure.
This is a new one. For me it's an old one, because it's done when it's done for a musician. Think about the next project, for sure, but it's not for the public.
Oh, very much so. And just like you mentioned, by the time that an album does come out, the band is normally already thinking about what they want to accomplish with the next album. And I can say without question that with how strong Rapid Foray is, and I hope everybody does check it out on August 26th through Steamhammer, that if all these creative juices are going the way that they are now, I cannot wait to see what you guys are going to keep going to do in the future.
Yeah, because, all the critics in Germany are, just enthusiastic, pretty much. And so it's a totally different way than it was with the last two records. So the reactions are really great. And today there were 3 songs played at the Wacken Open Air, by the Teufel truck. That kind of truck that's going around, they're playing some music and stuff like that on the field. And they're really, the fans, went nuts. So really look forward to when the album is released.
Oh, fantastic. And I'm glad to see the fan reception for the new material live, because it is so strong on record, and when they finally get to hear it on record, I think they're going to appreciate it just as much.
Yeah, we really look forward to that, because what would happen after that, there's a lot of work going on there, because Running Wild is not a trained band, hired guns, so we have to pick up all the set lists and stuff like that. And talking about the show, it takes a lot of time to do this. That's why it's great that the next festivals are pretty much 1 year ago, 1 year ahead.
Do you find that to be a challenge at all, having the session live musicians joining you? Or has it become natural to be able to do that now?
It just turned, Running Wild turned in a very long process to a kind of a solo project. And it is a solo project in the studio with hired guns that comes to that, even if all the guys in the band have something to do with the production and they were involved in that at the time. But if it comes to the live stuff, it's really these four guys who play the Wacken Open Air will stay as a band, because for the first time it was, we did the rehearsals like that, and the auditions, pretty much more auditions. We did just one audition together with the four of us, playing together with Ole on bass and Michael on drum to see how they work together as a rhythm section. And we played the first track, it was on the Jolly Roger, and my personal assistant, Nicky, was just there. He just heard the first song. And in the afternoon, we just called up each other and talk about things. And that it was really great because I was listening to the first track, and it really didn't sound like a band playing together for the first time. It really sounded like a band playing together for years. Because you can't hear this new band, so to speak. And it was the same that everybody told us who saw us live in Wacken, that it didn't sound like a band that was playing together for the first time. It really sounded like a well-trained band, and there's kind of chemistry in the band, which even if we are four totally different guys in the band, it's the kind of situation with the kind of unison between us, we are united as one, so to speak, when we play together. And it was the first time that it came so quickly about, just being there, a kind of chemistry which you can't make up. There,
Yes, that's very true. If you don't have that right chemistry, whether it's live or in the studio, or when you have them as full musicians in a band, if that chemistry's not there, it's never going to feel right. But when you do find that right chemistry with the musicians that you're working with, it is a fantastic feeling.
Really, and also we get along very well, just not when we're playing, also in a normal situation. So it's a very relaxed situation in the band. We had some band shots a week or 2 weeks ago, and so relaxed, it was just fun to do that. It was really not work, and it was pretty much easy to do that for the first time, and thought it was great, because there's a lot of more things coming up with that.
Oh, very much so. Well, once again, thank you for taking the time to talk to me about the brand new album from Running Wild, Rapid Foray, which comes out August 26th through Steamhammer SPV. It has been a tremendous honor to be able to talk to you, being such a longtime fan, and just absolutely enjoying the new album. Before we're done, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I haven't brought up yet?
No, not really. I really hope so that the fans really like the album the same way I like it. I'm very proud of that.